This story is drawn from court records and news reporting. The images are illustrations, not real footage. In the summer of 2020, a young tech founder was found dead inside his own locked Manhattan apartment. The killer wasn't a stranger. It was the assistant Fahim Saleh had caught stealing from him months earlier, and chosen to forgive. He didn't press charges. He gave him 2 years to quietly pay it back. A second chance most people never get. And that mercy is the reason Fahim is dead. To understand how this happened, you have to understand who Fahim Saleh was, because almost nobody saw it coming. The son of Bangladeshi immigrants, raised in upstate New York, he taught himself to code as a teenager. His first real company cleared $1 million while he was still in high school, and he was just getting started. One of his sites let people send prank phone calls. That silly little idea would go on to make more than $10 million. By his early 30s, he'd built apps downloaded tens of millions of times, and ride-sharing companies from Asia to Nigeria. That motorcycle company, Gokada, was his. And in Manhattan, he'd just launched a fund to back other young founders. And by every account, he was generous. A teenage coder once emailed him cold, out of nowhere, and got a real answer back. He handed money, mentorship, and second chances to people nobody else believed in. One of them was a quiet young man named Tyrese Haspil. Tyrese was young, barely into his 20s, and Fahim didn't just hire him, he brought him up. As his personal assistant, Tyrese ran the whole machine, and in a life that busy, the job came down to one thing: access. The accounts, the cards, the passwords. To Fahim, Tyrese wasn't just staff. He trusted him with everything: his schedule, his home, his money. But there was a second life Fahim couldn't see. Tyrese had a girlfriend, and a taste for a lifestyle far beyond an assistant's paycheck. Quick life tip: if your assistant is suddenly living better than you are, that's not a bonus you forgot about. Expensive dinners, designer gifts, weekend hotels, none of it added up on an assistant's salary. Because it wasn't his money. It was Fahim's. It didn't happen all at once. It was slow. A charge here, a transfer there, small enough to vanish into a busy company's books. And it grew. What started as a charge he could always explain away became transfers he couldn't. He was betting Fahim would never look closely. Over roughly 2 years, it added up. Prosecutors would later put the total near $400,000. For a while, it worked. The gifts kept coming. The lie kept holding. And Fahim, buried in building companies, didn't notice a thing. But by the time the numbers stopped adding up, Tyrese didn't even work for Fahim anymore. He'd been fired more than a year earlier. And being fired had never once stopped him from stealing. He found money missing. Reports say the first amount he uncovered was in the tens of thousands, and it traced straight back to Tyrese. Detectives would later find the messages between them, Fahim flatly telling the young man he knew he'd been stealing. Picture that moment. The person you treated like family has been robbing you for months. Most people call the police. Most people press charges. Fahim did neither. Instead, he sat Tyrese down and offered him a deal. Pay it back over time, and this stays between us. No courtroom, no criminal record, no ruined future. Just 2 years to quietly make it right. Fahim thought he was saving a young man from himself. He thought mercy would fix this. But Tyrese didn't hear a lifeline. He heard a debt he never intended to pay, and a problem named Fahim. Fahim gave him a way out. Tyrese decided the cheaper way out was making sure Fahim could never collect. Because a dead man can't be repaid, and a dead man can't testify about what you took. He planned it, not in a night, over days, making lists, buying what he needed. Prosecutors say he researched the depth of the Hudson River and how to make heavy things sink and stay down. This wasn't panic. It was a project. He was solving a problem, and the problem was a person. He bought a disguise, a dark three-piece suit, a tie, a face mask to hide behind. And the whole time, the man he was planning to kill had no reason to be afraid of him at all. In the days before, the two of them were still texting. Still, on Tyrese's end, completely ordinary. This wasn't a burglary gone wrong. It was patient. It was personal. July 13th, 2020. Before 6 in the morning, a camera catches him near his own building. Already dressed, already ready. By mid-morning, that same figure slips into Fahim's building and disappears into a stairwell. And then he waits. Not for minutes, for hours. Sitting in that stairwell, dressed for a killing, listening for Fahim to come home. Early that afternoon, Fahim comes back from a run. It's a hot day. He's relaxed. He's almost home. His private elevator opens straight into his living room. As the doors close, a masked man in a dark suit steps in beside him. And in the summer of 2020, a city where every other face was covered, that didn't look strange at all. And here's what made it work. Fahim hadn't seen this man in over a year. And behind the mask and sunglasses, he didn't recognize the assistant he'd once trusted. So on the way up, the two of them appear to make small talk, like it's nothing. Fahim doesn't know the man beside him has been waiting all day. He doesn't know what's in the bag. The doors open into his home. Fahim steps out first, and in that instant, everything changes. A taser fires into his back and drops him. By his own account, Fahim's last words are simply, "What are you doing?" Then the knife. Tyrese stabs him again and again, and the wounds later found on Fahim's hand show he was still fighting back. By the time it's over, the man who forgave a fortune is gone. And the man he forgave starts covering his tracks. What he does next tells you how calm he really was. He cleans. He vacuums up the tiny markers the taser leaves behind. Then he leaves, takes a car across the river into New Jersey, and comes back the next morning to finish what he started. To finish, he needed supplies, so he went shopping and paid with Fahim's own credit card. Cleaning supplies, an electric saw. Then he carried it all back up to the apartment where Fahim was still lying. What happened over the next hours, I'm not going to describe. The court records are enough. At trial, he'd say he felt numb doing it, and that he only stopped when the saw's battery finally died. He never got to finish, because a member of Fahim's family, reports still differ on which, hadn't heard from him and came to check on him. They walked in, and what they found sent a scream through that building. Tyrese, coming back from the store, sees the police arriving, and instead of running home, he runs. For 4 days, the city didn't know who had done it. Then, the credit card and the cameras pointed to one person. They arrested him at a rented apartment, one he'd booked to celebrate his girlfriend's birthday. The evidence was overwhelming. The disguise, the receipts, the card, the searches, all of it led back to him. So at trial in 2024, his lawyers didn't argue that he was innocent. They argued about why he did it. Their case was extreme emotional disturbance, that his obsession with his girlfriend and his own lies had broken his judgment. Then Tyrese did something rare. He took the stand himself and calmly walked the jury through the murder, step by step. And then he gave them his real reason, in words close to these. If I take his life, then I won't have to pay him back. There it was. Not heartbreak, not a breakdown, a budget decision. The jury didn't buy it for a second. On June 24th, 2024, they convicted him on every single count. First-degree murder and everything around it. At sentencing, prosecutors asked for 50 years to life. Then, Tyrese was given a chance to speak. And what he said stunned the courtroom. He didn't ask for mercy. He asked for the opposite. He told the judge, quote, "Unlike my counsel, I don't think anything less than life without parole would be appropriate." The judge called it a brutally chilling, senseless murder, and sentenced him to 40 years to life. Across the room sat Fahim's family, his parents, his sisters, people who'd lost the most generous person they knew in the ugliest way imaginable. And they didn't just lose a brother and a son. The world lost everything Fahim still had left to build. Every founder he hadn't met yet. Every kid who would have emailed him out of nowhere and gotten an answer. What got Fahim killed wasn't a weakness. It was the best thing about him. His mistake wasn't trusting Tyrese in the first place. It was being kind to him after that trust was already broken. He gave a thief a second chance instead of a courtroom, and it cost him his life. If this story stayed with you, take a second to comment and subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel. And until next time, be careful who you trust, and take care of yourself.